What has changed and what's new? Let's give you an update as we move through the evening hours. Blizzard warnings continue right along the East Coast. We've also seen these blizzard warnings move a little bit further inland now, up here into parts of New York, all the way into the entire state of Connecticut, up to Springfield. This happened earlier today, but we've also seen blizzard warnings extend all the way out to Cape Cod and then up into southern parts of Maine along the coast, with winter storm warnings flanking this all to the north and west, including Augusta. Portland, you are under the blizzard warning, I should say. We're going to get some strong easterly winds, northeasterly winds too, and that's going to cause coastal flooding problems as well. So that will be a big issue. We could see rises 2.5 to 3.5 feet, and that could cause some inundation of water, and those waves could breach some of the dunes. One of the things I think we have to keep an eye on is back to the west. We'll look at the models in just a second, but some of that snow may be a little lighter across Pennsylvania. Okay, I'm kind of starting to lean into that camp. I'm not letting up on New Jersey, not letting up on Delaware. It's certainly not letting go of Long Island, New York City, Connecticut. Nothing has changed. I was actually reading the forecast discussion out of New York. They're pretty much like, yep, it's all good. We got nothing to say. We got nothing to change. We're sticking with what we got. So there's that. But back into Pennsylvania, a little bit of a different message coming out of State College, as some of these totals may need to be brought down. But back towards New Jersey, down to Delaware, we're starting to see that snow transition. So those totals really haven't changed much. We do have winter storm warnings, though, up for Baltimore. We also have it up for Harrisburg, over to Allentown. South of that, we've got winter weather advisories flanking it all the way down to Richmond, and winter storm warnings right along the Chesapeake Bay, with the blizzard warnings down the Delmarva all the way on the eastern shore of Virginia, and then back to the west of this. Some of this is upslope. We've talked about that for the last couple of days. There's going to be a lot of wind behind this storm, so some heavy snow possible from the mountains of southwest PA, West Virginia, all the way down the spine of the Appalachians into the mountains of North Carolina. Let's go ahead and go to the maps. Let's talk about the new data that's coming in on the European. We're going to talk about some of the short-range data, too, as well. And yes, thank you for that super chat there, Killer Cheese TV. There's going to be some snow in Allentown. We're going to look at those maps in just a second. I'm going to lean onto the National Weather Service map for that right now. And we're going to show you some new data, too, on the maps. But here we go with the snow moving through the overnight hours. Low pressure deepening off the coast. It's going to occlude. It's going to wrap up on itself. Strong northeast winds, I should say. And that snow moving into Boston by the time you wake up tomorrow morning. And it could really be coming down. I mean, heavy snow at times. This low lifts to the north and east. A lot of cold air behind it, too. That's going to push all the way into the south. So if you're not watching into the northeast, get ready for temperatures to drop all the way into Florida, with some lingering snow showers back here into the Appalachians. The heavy snow starting to let go here into parts of Delaware and New Jersey as we head into the afternoon. Also southern New York, but it's still going to be snowing, I think, from Long Island, Connecticut, even into western Mass, parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, with some snow going on here behind this as the trough moves through. And then we've still got an easterly wind that starts to turn northwesterly as we move into the afternoon, starts to shut the snow off, but it's still snowing here into down east Maine as we move into Monday evening. So this will be a long duration snow event. We're finally done with this thing by the time we wake up Tuesday morning, at the very least, the main impacts, but now it's cold, and we're already, guys, look at this. We're looking upstream. Do you see this coming your way? Another system. Looks like it's going to bring some more snow as we head into Wednesday. This doesn't look like a lot, but there could be some accumulation on top of what we're seeing. Let's look closer, and then we're going to get into those snow totals at the winds first. Wind gusts still looking very strong along the coast. Check this out, guys. We've talked about this the last couple of days. It almost looks like a hurricane. It's not a warm core system, but man, you've got a lot of winds wrapping around this, a lot of convection out over the ocean. Hey, there could even be some tornadic water spouts out here way out to sea, just because of all the helicity, the spin in the atmosphere. Just a wild setup with this. And on the interior areas, we're going to see the snow. Let's look at some of the short-range guidance. This gives us an idea of that rain transitioning to snow as we move through the evening hours and where it's going to end up going. We'll also see that transition to snow as far south, I think, as Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, all the way down to the Tidewater here, maybe even into eastern North Carolina. But that snow going pretty strong here into New Jersey, Delaware. We've got really heavy snow. The winds are going to start to pick up, too, as we move through the evening hours. And then back to the west, a little bit of snow here, some convergence going on across parts of PA. Bit of a lull here, I think, once you get up towards maybe Scranton, Binghamton, and then once you get to eastern PA, Allentown, all the way down to Philadelphia. I think this area, if there's a place in Pennsylvania where the snow's probably not going to let up, I think it's here. So it's my opinion. And east of that in New Jersey, I wouldn't change anything at this point. Thanks for that super chat there, SCM0717. I do appreciate that so much. And I appreciate you for watching. Look at this into tomorrow. We're talking about early tomorrow morning. Look at all this convection. Let me tell you something. There are going to be some intense bands of thunder snow just off the coast. And here's the thing. Enough instability that I think there will be some thunder snow here into southern New England as this storm really gets cranky. Strong winds, too. Again, coastal flooding maximizing as we head into the early morning hours of Monday. Heavy snow onto the Long Island. Some places still getting 2 feet. I don't think that's changed. Some places in Rhode Island where there's some maximums here could approach 30 inches or maybe even an isolated 3-foot pocket. Certainly not ruled out, in my opinion. Here's a better look further to the north and east. There's that low. Look at all the convection just offshore. This is the RRFS model. Impressive to see that, and you're taking that conveyor belt of moisture and you're just funneling it into this cold air, all the lift, all the ascent happening, and now you've got the heavy snow bands lifting north. Some of these are likely going to set up with some convergence too that happens with the ocean. So you've got that moisture moving in from the ocean. You've got a lot of different things happening here aloft, a lot of dynamics going on, winds changing with height, and that just means a lot of lift, and heavy snow bands are going to set up as we head into Monday morning. Monday afternoon, that starts to lift really further north into Boston, and it could get really heavy by the time we get into Monday morning into Monday afternoon. Snow still going here. Look how it's starting to lighten up, though. You can see the darker colors moving a little bit offshore, but now it's moving into down East Maine, and it all starts to wrap up again. This is just a different look of what I showed you on the models. This is the future radar. It wraps up as we head eventually into Tuesday. All right, let's look at some of the totals. These are the National Digital Forecast Database numbers. This is numbers from the National Weather Service, their official forecast totals. Okay, at this point, I want to stick with this, and I'm going to refresh this just to be sure I haven't missed something here on the live stream. So yeah, they're still sticking with the snow totals that they've been putting out here, close to 2 feet of snow. And one of the reasons you're seeing this maximum here into parts of New Jersey is you are going to have that onshore flow. Okay, so there's a couple of counties here that are just going to, if there's a chance for that maximum to happen, it's probably right in here. And that's because of that, again, that moisture and the way everything is lining up. And here's another thing I'm going to tell you too. Some of these numbers, look at this 24, and then you go down to 16. So there could be some decent discrepancies depending on where these heavier snow bands set up. Either way, are we going to split hairs over 16, 18, 20 inches of snow? It's a big impact no matter how you slice it. Further back to the west, Philadelphia still looking like a solid foot to foot and a half of snow right now. The official forecast looking around 16 inches. And then further south towards Wilmington, about 14. That's the official forecast. Further to the north, up towards Allentown, still about a foot of snow, foot and a half. A good 12 to 18 inches, I think, still here into eastern PA when you look at this official forecast that they're still putting out from the National Weather Service. Here's what's changed, though, and I want to let you see this for yourself. Here's the forecast right now. Here's what it looked like. Well, I can't go back that far. Let's go back one more. There you go. So notice these totals in here, a lot of pink. All right, here's where we are now. So the snow totals, a little bit less here in the parts of Pennsylvania. They've pushed a little bit further to the east, but we're still looking at an impactful storm pretty much for the entire state of New Jersey, down into Delaware. Decent snow here. D.C. Metro looking like, at this point, if I had to guess, 3 to 6. Further north up towards Baltimore, more like 6 to 8 inches of snow, if I had to throw a number out. And then clearly lighter amounts west of where the main axis of this synoptic lift is going to happen with the large-scale storm that's lifting up the coast. Further to the south, and then we're going to swing back north again. I do want to talk about the snow across Delaware that's going to fall, also down to Salisbury, down the eastern shore of Virginia. These numbers have went up significantly, especially here up towards Chincoteague and Assateague, these islands here. It's a lower populated area out here, but let me tell you something. It's going to be brutal with the wind and the snow. And you start getting up here into New Jersey, you start talking about the wind, that's going to be a big problem here too. And then back into the mountains of West Virginia, some snow. Somebody sees a foot of snow, especially into the highest elevations of West Virginia. Now let's go into the Northeast. Long Island, here's the numbers from the National Weather Service, nearly 2 feet of snow. These guys aren't moving their numbers. They were talking about it in their forecast discussion. They're holding firm on this. The snow has started. We're underway. It's going to do what it's going to do. Near Boston, a little bit of tweaking happening here with the numbers. A little bit higher, a little bit further north and west. Those blizzard warnings expanded. Again, that wind will be the impact, but close to 2 feet. And they're talking about some of these areas here could overperform with nearly 30 inches of snow. And it's going to be brutal out on Cape Cod. Just be ready. Power outages, especially as the snow starts off heavy and wet. Eventually it transitions to a drier snow. This is going to be a high impact event. And then further to the north and east, there's going to be some snow. Also, up into down east Maine, I don't want to leave you guys out because here's the deal. Down along the coast, it could be brutal here as well with strong winds and snow. Now, the totals aren't quite as high as your friends to the south, but you're still talking about 8, 10, 12 inches of snow. And you combine that with wind gusts that could potentially go over 60 or 70 at times. Here's a closer look at those winds in this area. Look at these wind gusts. 66 out here at the end of Long Island, Cape Cod close to 70, even into Boston, 50 to 60 along the coast. And then there's those gusts up into Maine, rather, I should say, 40 to 50, maybe even 60 along the coast. And by the way, look at these gusts into interior parts of Connecticut and Massachusetts, gusting to 50 to 55. That's going to be a problem. All along Long Island, it could get brutal. This is the kind of situation that shuts things down. I mean, even if you just get a foot of snow and you get this much wind, you have problems. You had 15, 16, 18, 20 inches of snow. Now you've got big problems going on. And to me, it looks like we've got some big problems as this low moves up the coast and it starts to really stabilize. It's not going to drop pressure anymore once we get into Monday, and it's going to pull away, but before it does, it's going to leave a mess. And here's another look, too. We didn't talk much about the snow. We did say a little bit about it here into West Virginia, but, there could be up to a foot of snow for places like Snowshoe, Canaan Valley, the west-facing slopes into West Virginia. Places like Huntington, Charleston may just see a couple of inches, but get down for places like Beckley, Bluefield, down the spine of the Appalachians for places like Boone, go down to Asheville, not nearly as much snow, but on the west-facing slopes here into East Tennessee, somebody gets 6+ inches of snow here. Some of the higher west-facing slopes, again, you're going to perform a little better. And then further to the north and east, on the other extreme of this storm, it's going to move into Canada, so there'll be some snow up here into the coastal areas, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Newfoundland. We're going to get a little snow out of this, but it's not going to be nearly as impactful, believe it or not, as what we're seeing here across the mid-Atlantic and into the Northeast. All right, let's take a look at the new European that came out today, and I want to take you through the next couple of days. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, if you're brand new, I'm Travis. I was studying meteorology at Mississippi State. I used to work in TV as was chief meteorologist years ago. So if you're a weather geek like me and you like looking at this kind of stuff, hey, it's not going to end with this storm. We're going to track severe weather heading into the spring. We track the boring weather days too, and I like those a lot better, to be honest with you. Maybe you do too. So come back, subscribe. Here comes the next system, though, into the Northeast. Clipper system, it's going to bring some snow your way heading into Wednesday. So get ready for it now. Across the West, friends, if you're watching here, thanks for watching. I know we're not ignoring you completely, but this is such a massive storm into the Northeast. It's impacting so many people. Your snow levels are really going to go up here into the Cascades. This is the next piece of energy, too, that we want to watch that might bring some tricky action to the east as we head toward the end of the upcoming week. Snow levels are really high, though, into the parts of the Sierra. I was reading one discussion, I think it was the National Weather Service out of Reno, maybe. Honestly, I don't remember, but it might have been somewhere else in the Northwest. Snow levels may go as high as 10,000 feet, up to 13,000 feet. That's higher than the ski lifts out here, guys. So that's pretty high for this time of year, and it's been kind of a snowless winter up across the Pacific Northwest. You're kind of used to that, so more on the way. Snow moving through parts of southern Canada, down into parts of the Great Lakes. We're talking about Michigan, southern Ontario, and it's taking aim at the Northeast. So another light snow event, not going to be nearly as heavy as we head into Wednesday and Thursday. That moves through pretty quickly. We've got some decent snow falling up across the Canadian Rockies too, on top of that, which has been a record snow season right along the Alberta, British Columbia border, with more snow on the way. Not so much again for the Rockies and down into the Sierra. And we're staying relatively dry, at least through Thursday. Here comes that piece of energy, though, that I was talking about, that we need to watch as we head toward Thursday and Friday. Does this storm have a little more juice to it? Well, this is the European from today. Okay, doesn't look too bad. Kind of looks quiet. I haven't actually laid eyes on the GFS yet, so let's do that real quick here on the live stream. I do want to see where this goes. So it looks significantly different. There comes your Clipper system, and yeah, it has a different animal here. And I'm just going to go ahead and put this out there. I would argue we might want it to snow so we can allow things to melt a little slower, because if we get a heavy rain in areas where we have 2 feet of snow on the ground, we have a problem. More to come. Thanks for watching, guys. Be safe. A lot of warnings and advisories out there right now. Make sure you know what you're under. Head to weather.gov. Thanks for watching. See you next time.